The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D Wattles. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you guys want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. Before I say anything about this book, I said this I think in the beginning of my last video, but I'm still very curious about it. This whole background here, this is like my future board. What do you guys think of it? What would you guys change if there had to be anything? What would you rather see in the background of my videos? I think in this video also I'm gonna sit at that couch maybe halfway through. I'm gonna relocate. It's something that I'm just very curious about because I think that maybe like changing locations every now and then in a video that's maybe, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes long. I don't know, I feel like it keeps your attention going. But again, let me know in the comments. I'm super curious. I really appreciate the feedback. And again, you know, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm and it helps with a lot of ranking and stuff, and I appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. But why would I do it? Why would I get another book I got a review about making money? It's simple. We live on an economic planet. Whatever you want in life that's tangible, it's gonna require some cash infusion. And if it isn't, it's gonna require, for sure, some things that are intangible that are used to obtain infusible cash. Also, I love thinking and learning about money. It's such an interesting topic and useful and important to understand. More important probably now than ever. It's 2020, it's September, come on. I hope my audience feels the same way. I wanna disclose for anyone who might feel some type of way about everything I just said.
I just wanna say that I know that capitalism is not 100,000% perfect.
The object of Google is to organize all of the world's information and put it in one place. If you ask me, they've done far beyond that. Something I would love to leave behind with my channel is kind of like an organization of all the world's most valuable information that's been put into nonfiction books. But because I'm a human being, I want to do it in like the most ethical and like balanced way that benefits all parties involved in its understanding and application. Also, this is an extremely popular book. It's not like it hasn't had the time to build its own reputation. I mean, it came out 110 years ago. A lot of books about wealth building over the years have apparently stemmed from this one. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and probably every other book written by Rhonda Byrne. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, and probably every other book by Jen Sincero. And last but not least, my favorite book in history, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and probably every other book written by Napoleon Hill. So in this review, I'm going to talk about some of the chapters, things I learned, things I found interesting, some things that I heard that I wasn't entirely sure I agree with. It'll be fun. He begins the book with basically a sales pitch. Not the upsell type, not the here, buy my program, you'll love it more than the book type, but the type that's like, here's why it's in anyone and everyone's best interest to become rich. And it's very New Thought movement. I love the New Thought movement. I love the way New Thought leaders think. It's like, here is where selfishness and selflessness kind of meet and where the world becomes a better, more balanced place. There's just this one detail I heard in the beginning that made me raise my eyebrow like you would never expect. No man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them with. I disagree with this. In fact, I'm a little bit appalled that the author went as far as writing it. I think it's the other way around. Great heights in talent and soul development don't cost money. What they cost is what money costs. Things like courage, energy, faith, persistence, desire, persuasion, people, positive self-talk. Money doesn't have an intrinsic value. The value we assign to it is made up. It's like the boogeyman. Ugh.
Happy Halloween. Early Halloween. My girlfriend thinks it's Halloween and it's September.
She really likes Halloween. But money is a belief system. And I swear that in essence, this book agrees with me. But getting rich in chapter 2, the author says it's not a matter of environment, although location at the time of this book's writing definitely counted for something. It's a matter of doing things in a certain way. Because smart people get rich, stupid people get rich, happy people and unhappy people get rich, talented and untalented people get rich, and many people who you can use any of those words to describe, they don't get rich. So what is it? They wonder why, and I suppose like the main reason is probably just that they're not doing things in a certain way. But what is a certain way to do things if it's so important? Let's find out. Is opportunity monopolized? Some people might call this a loaded question. I think it's an interesting question. If you ask me, what's loaded is definitely the author's answer. Here is just a piece of it, okay? There's no limit to formless substance. The universe is made out of it, but it was not all used in making the universe. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. I like the writing style in this book. Some other older books about like wealth building and stuff like that, what is it? Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. They're not as accessible or comprehensive as this one. With just the language, they're still phenomenal books. But like, when he talks about thought universes, the inorganic world, and thinking stuff and creative energy, these are terms they just don't teach you about in school. When I have a child, I will gladly pay for them to go to a school that teaches it. And the chapter, The First Principle in the Science of Getting Rich, that was the chapter that I heard, and I really began to think like, okay, now I understand why he calls it the science of getting rich. Not the technique, not the art, not the business, not the study, not the religion, not the political party, but the science. In the chapter Increasing Life, chapter 5, this chapter there are lessons in this chapter that like a lot of people in this world may never learn. I'll just put it that way. The next chapter, there was a story in it about like a boy and a piano, and it really hit me listening to the story. This guy, he's not a storyteller. The author of this book is not a storyteller. Stories are not a common thing in this book. I guess that's not really how he teaches. Maybe I'm so used to going to Napoleon Hill for learnings of this topic that I guess I'm just surprised. The gratitude chapter, in some way, it's kind of humbling. It really speaks with reason to like a holier than thou mentality. The author calls politicians plutocrats or trust magnates, but in this chapter he says that if it weren't for them, we would fall into anarchy, and that there isn't the slightest room for doubt that the ones who need to be gone will be gone as soon as they can be spared. As he says, and this was probably like one of my favorite parts of the chapter, let alone the whole book, they are arranging the lines of transmission along which your riches will come to you. In thinking in the certain way, I'll recommend a book later that I mentioned earlier in this review that really just like takes the chapter and turned it into a book, sort of. In How to Use the Will, he teaches a lot about like poverty and like how to look at poverty. You know, don't read about it. Don't actively tend to it. It's not really exactly what you'd expect, but like, he says that the best way to help the poor is to become rich, which is strange, right? Like, this reminds me of a few quotes I want to highlight here from other books, because a lot of people seem to have so much faith in charity and giving to the poor. I always felt this way, believe me, but the more I learned about like wealth building, the more I began to have like mixed feelings about it. Napoleon Hill says that the very best way of distributing wealth is by distributing the principles of achievement by which wealth is procured. Henry Ford, in his incredible, the whole chapter where he says this is like this really expanded on it. It's one thing to give, but it's another to make giving unnecessary. Chapter 13, getting into the right business, making sure you get into a business where you have the skill set that's actually needed to succeed. Or if you don't, pointing yourself into a direction needed to develop the skill set that is needed to succeed. Did that make sense? I don't know if that was like correct grammar, but the author puts such an emphasis throughout this whole book on like growth and increasing life and just making more either out of what's there or out of what isn't there. And that's easily my favorite thing about this whole book. For some reason, past like chapter 9 or 10, most of what I heard sounded like either something I heard before or something that I learned by applying what I had heard before. For example, the impression of increase. Like, everyone needs to know that you're growing. Everyone, even the smallest transaction of money, time, or attention, smiling at someone across the street, making sure it's the most valuable smile that you can smile. If you're selling candy to a child, who does that? Do people sell candy to children? Make sure it's the best sale, the type of sale that gets him telling all of his friends. But again, call me crazy, I think it's important to make sure that you're increasing also. Like, I don't know how much of an emphasis he put on this, but if you give off the impression of increase and you're not actually increasing, you're playing on the competitive plane as opposed to the creative plane, as he says. When he talks about the competitive plane versus the creative plane, that's something else I love about this book. Overall, this is the type of book whose contents I would say are worth hammering into one's mind. It's the type of book worth listening to or reading over and over and over again. That type of classic. It's also the type, I'd say, of classic worth checking out and considering the more you read or listen what contents are still true and to what degree, and if not, what's changed. It's also that kind of classic. Quotes. That which makes you want more money is the same as that which makes the plant grow. The multimillionaires are like the monster reptiles of our prehistoric eras. The same power which produced them will dispose of them. A record of the private lives of most of this class will show that they really have been the most abject and wretched of the poor. The world is advanced only by those who fill their present places. Direction 1. The author of this book says that it is intended for men and women whose most pressing need is to make money. So I recommend this book if you need more money. And who couldn't use more money? I hear this from everyone. Customers, colleagues, me, my girlfriend. I don't know if I've heard my parents say it, but I'm gonna try to check my privilege here and say that I don't think they did the worst job raising us, because I've definitely heard my siblings say it. Direction 2. Simple as it gets. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you check this one out, you may want to check that one out, and vice versa. Sure, there's a little bit, or maybe I guess a decent amount of knowledge overlap, but that one is just, they're just both incredible books. Other than the overlap, I think their contents, they complement each other splendidly. And I also mentioned As a Man Thinketh. This book is kind of like As a Man Thinketh and Think and Grow Rich if they had a baby. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D Wattles. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. And if there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know them in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.